All right, so this is going to be just a quick video on factoring, and we'll start with situations where a is equal to 1. Because remember, our standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c. So that's our standard format. And we're going to look at some examples where a is equal to 1. Now suppose we have x squared plus 5x plus 4. All right, to factor this, we need to find two numbers that will multiply to give us 5. So they multiply to give us 5, but they add together to give us 5. Multiply to give us 4, but add to give us 5. All right, and those two numbers are going to be 1 and 4, because 1 times 4 is 4, 1 plus 4 is 5. So then, since I found my two factors, all I have to do is write x plus 1, x plus 4. Okay? So let's recap. Multiply to give us 4, add to give us 5. That's 1 times 4 gives us 4. 1 plus 4 gives us 5. All right. So that's one. Let's do another. Suppose that we have x squared minus x minus 6. All right. Well, in this one, let's figure out what a is. Well, a is definitely equal to 1, because you can imagine there's like an imaginary 1 right here. B is, in this case, is going to be -1, and C is going to be -6. So in this case, we're going to need two numbers that multiply to give us -6, but add to give us -1. All right? Two numbers multiply to give us -6, add to give us -1. If I have two numbers that multiply to give me -6, that means one's going to be positive and one's going to be negative, right? Because a positive times a negative gives me a negative. So those two numbers will be -3 and +2. Now that I have these two numbers, which -3 plus 2 gives me -1, and -3 times 2 gives me -6. So remember, times to make this one, plus to make that one. Then we're going to have x minus 3, x plus 2. All right, so even when you're dealing with the negative, think about it. If I have a negative number, I have to have one number needs to be negative, one needs to be positive. And that will give me, and the bigger number in this case needs to be negative. Now, what if instead I had x squared plus x minus 6? Same concept, but in this case I have positive 1, so it still needs to multiply to give me -6, but add to give me positive 1. In this case, we'd have 3 and -2, because I still have a negative times a positive, so I get a negative number. But in this case, the positive needs to be a bigger number, because I need, when I add these together, I need a positive 1. So in this case, the answer will be x plus 3, x minus 2. All right. The last case that we're going to talk about is the case like this. If we had x squared plus 4x minus 4. Well, in this case, we got two numbers. Got to have multiply to give us -4, add to give us +4. In this case, oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Let's switch these around. Let's make this positive, make this negative. I apologize. If I have two numbers that multiply to give me 4, they either have to both be positive or both be negative. If they're both negative, I get a negative times a negative, which gives me a positive. So I'm going to choose -2 and -2, because -2 plus -2 gives me -4. -2 times -2 gives me +4. So in this case, you have x minus 2, x minus 2. And that's it.